All right, so I'm gonna go over how to remove some of the parts on the Romy robot, just because you may need to remove them in the future, or if you mess up your solder or something like that. I'm not sure how the first robotic kits come, but if the boards come already installed onto the chassis, in order to solder these pins for the Atmega, we're gonna have to remove this. So I'm gonna go over real quick how to remove certain items on the Romy robot. So the first thing we need to do is remove the motors. The motors have these clips right here. You do not want to bend this wheel or this axle that's in here. So to do that, you look, I'll put my 2 fingers right underneath very softly or gently, and then I'll remove these clips. I'll push them back, and then I'll slowly push up on the wheel, and it comes right off. It should come off fairly easy. It should not be very difficult to remove the wheels. Just push up and slide off. Just make sure you do that easily, because you do not want to bend these wheels. So once we have those removed, we have a couple of screws that we need to remove. We have one here, should be 4, I think, and right here. Now, you go to the bottom, take off the battery plate, and you'll see where those 4 screws are connected, here and here, and you have a little nut that's on the end. So what I do is I stick my finger in there to keep the nut from coming out, and then I will remove each one of these screws. The nut will fall out. Just make sure you're somewhere where once it comes out, you can catch it in your hand so you don't lose it. Your finger basically keeps that little nut from spinning while you're trying to take the screw out. Already did that one, so I got this one left. All right, there's that one. So now I should be able to just pop this up. The screws are still there, but there's nothing holding them on. Okay. So we're gonna have one more issue, and this will be the last step of removing the board if it's already on the board, because certain kits do not come with the battery terminals already soldered. Yours, I think, will come with those. With the first kit, they're already soldered to the board, and if the board's already been placed on the I about said RS, okay, onto the Romy chassis, you'll have to be able to get those off. So if you look right here, some of these, if you look right here, you'll see your soldered battery terminals, and you have 2 of them, one here, positive and ground. So when you flip that over, these are permanent. These just complete the series for the batteries. But to remove this, if I try to remove it, you see the springs are in the way, right? So what I'm gonna do is push those springs in on both sides, and they'll pop out. And now I have the board removed, okay? So the pins that we're gonna need for this class are going to be for the Atmega, which are, I think, the 2x9. For the first robotics kit, you'll have one of these pins already soldered, and that's for the 5-volt rail, but you will need to install, I have mine done a different way. I pieced together this robot. I did not buy a first robotics kit, so mine was kind of done differently for different research that I'm doing. But for you, you will have to solder these pins right here. And once you have this off, you should be good to go. To put it back on, I kind of just repeat the process that I just went through. You'll have to slide your battery connectors back in, make sure they're good to go. I'll use a little flathead screwdriver, push in the springs. Trying to make sure you guys can see it. Once I get it close, I'll just push in the spring with the tip of this screwdriver. And that one's back on. Make sure you're lined up as well, because you don't want to put any pressure on anything that you don't need to be, because you don't want to break anything off. So just pop that one back in, push it back on, put my 4 screws back in, and then just each motor can be popped right back in. Push it down. It might try to twist a little bit. Make sure that your pins are lined up. Do not try to force it in there without knowing that your pins are lined up for the encoder, right? And then we just push in. It's that easy. I'll do this one. Make sure it's lined up, push it in, and good to go. I didn't put the screws back in, but of course you will do that before you move on from that. Put your batteries in, power it on, make sure it works, and you should be good to go. Now this step is only in the case that your board is already on the chassis. If the First Robotics kits do not come that way, if the board is already off, then you'll want to make sure that you solder those first before you put the board together.